There is nothing more important to me than freedom. I'm not talking about political freedom. I'm not talking about having enough money so I can do whatever I want. I'm not talking about being able to say anything that I want to say regardless of the consequences in relation to someone else's feelings. What I'm talking about is the inner state of mind that Victor Frankel describes in Man's Search for Meaning. Victor Frankel was in a concentration camp during World War II, and he realized that despite being imprisoned by the Nazis, can you imagine a worse situation to be in? He was free. He was able to determine what he would think. He was in charge of the space in his mind between the condition, whatever was coming at him, and the cause and the effect of that condition. Unlike most of the prisoners, he was able to pause and create a space inside himself and decide what reality he wanted to occupy in his mind. That's what patterns is all about. Why is this important? This is the difference between top 1% entrepreneurs and everybody else. This is the difference between top 1% people in this world and everybody else. I'm not talking about who makes the most money. I'm not talking about who has the biggest social media channel. I'm not talking about anything that can be measured externally. All of that stuff is important. It exists. It doesn't matter. What I'm talking about is that on this earth, what we are here to do is lighten and elevate those patterns that we have created inside ourselves based on our thoughts, the actions we've taken, and the impact we have had on others. That's it. And in doing that, lightening those, we now have the opportunity to help others do the same. The top 1% is operating this way. This is a magical place from which to view life. This is the road less traveled. This is the condition of, I'm not missing anything. I am complete. There is no hint of quiet desperation. There is no hint of, oh, if only this would happen. Oh, if only I was at 2 billion instead of 100 million. Oh, if I only had more time to be with my family versus having to take care of all these clients. Oh, if I only had a digital program and didn't have to offer services. That world does not matter in terms of what really matters. I'm not saying those things aren't important. Of course they're important. Those are issues, problems that need solutions. But they don't matter. They're important, but they don't matter. That is a paradox. So what's going on with patterns? You create your reality. You have always created your reality. No one else has done anything to you. Did Victor Frankel get rounded up and put in the concentration camp? Yes. Did he create the reality of that experience? Yes. Not the external experience of what was done to him, the internal experience that he had there in his thoughts, in the actions he took, and the impact that he had was a reality he created freely. The difference between the top 1% and everybody else, 99%, nobody's good or bad or better or worse. It just is. The top 1% are creating a reality from the standpoint of inner freedom, where we are able to see what we are doing. We are not bound by our patterns, by our history that we built inside ourselves over a long period of time, thinking things and taking action and making an impact unconsciously without realizing what kind of reality we were creating. That's the difference. When you have freedom of thought, imagination, and action, you are consciously creating the reality that you want to live in. And when that opens up inside you, and you're living in that magical plane of existence, you want to impact on others' patterns. You want to do it. In other words, it doesn't feel like a burden to help others relieve their burdens. It's motivating. In fact, it's a feeling of gratitude. You have an opportunity not only to create a life of satisfaction through realizing a vision and a business that you've always wanted to do that matters, and a personal life of happiness, of feeling complete inside. That's what we get. But they get from our freedom and our ability to have open space inside of ourselves. They get an impact, your people, your customers, the people around you, your partners, everyone, your family. The benefit of your ability, because you know yourself, you know your truth, you see your patterns for what they are, not for what you want them to be, but what they really are, in a way where you can be there for them. And because you see clearly, you can determine to develop the type of vision and business that is pattern impacting. This is what I'm saying when I'm saying moving beyond problem solution. There's 3 types of patterns. There's thought patterns, action patterns, and impact patterns. The way you establish a pattern of thought is with persistence, continuous thought, emotionally charged relationship to that thought over time. In other words, putting conditions on relationships builds up heaviness in that cause and effect pattern inside yourself. You're creating a reality of conditional relationships. Doesn't feel good. Connection orientation. You are separating the world into strata of better and worse, good and bad, worthwhile and not worthwhile. Your connection orientation in your thoughts only, when they're persistent, builds heaviness inside yourself. If you have political enemies, you have a connection orientation pattern problem. If you're a snob, you have a connection orientation pattern problem. If I thought the top 1% of entrepreneurs were better than the bottom 98%, 99%, I would have a connection orientation pattern problem. I don't. It's my crowd. It's who I am. It's who I want to be around. There's nothing wrong with that. Vision alignment thoughts. Vision alignment thoughts come from developing a vision that doesn't suit who you are. It's not to your preference. It's not natural. It's not infused with a deeper source of energy inside yourself. And it's for the wrong people doing the wrong thing. You can create a conscious, socially good, impactful, not-for-profit, and still feel heaviness around vision alignment because it doesn't fit you. Why? Because you did it because you thought you were supposed to. Because you bought into someone else's belief system that said everything you do should be about saving the planet. Not necessarily. Not that that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. But the approach you took to do it, or even the thing itself, if you did not come to that through your own free will and your own inner understanding of who you are, will lead to a vision alignment pattern problem of heaviness inside yourself. That's where that stuff comes from. And it's very powerful and persistent. There's a solution to it, which we'll get into. Action. We have unlimited opportunity right in front of us. When we open up our energetic system, when we know how to surrender to the opportunities that are there, when we know how to detach from outcomes that when we get will actually set us back, whether we realize it or not, unlimited opportunity shows up. Everything that we've ever wanted is available here and now. In action, when we are blocking the functioning of the unlimited opportunity system, we are creating a heaviness inside ourselves. In our society, we have conditioned belief systems around making it happen, of forcing results, of getting people to do what we want, of manipulating, using persuasion, psychology, and marketing tactics. All of that behavior of forcing an opportunity through action impacts on the heaviness inside ourselves, believe it or not. Accepting support means that we are not allowing other people the opportunity to experience the joy of helping us. They came to us to help us. And we turned them away because, well, I know better. I know everything. Entrepreneurs struggle with this. Many entrepreneurs are convinced they are the only ones who know the answer. They are not able to accept support from anybody. This was a big problem for me. I've recognized now that the opportunities to accept support are given to me all day long. Unlimited opportunities, remember? So those opportunities are coming to me and I'm taking them now. It feels uncomfortable. There's a feeling of, no, I can do it. Or I don't want to bother with this person. I don't think they know what they're talking about. Because they don't have 1,000 million social media followers. So they probably don't know. Well, they're there for a reason. They struck my attention for a reason. My action to take support from them, to accept support from them, lightens the burden inside me. Not doing it creates heaviness inside me. Group harmony. Every one of us is here with a specific, defined, imprinted, energetic blueprint of how to show up in this place. When we embody that, we allow the group harmony pattern to operate effectively and lighten us and everyone around us. When we do not allow others to be themselves, when we are not able to be ourselves in terms of knowing our mission type, our vision type, our personality approach, our action preference, and here patterns now, then we're creating disharmony in the system, and that creates heaviness again. Now let's talk about impact. Unwinding issues comes from the heaviness around winding up issues. Let's start there. Comes from negatively impacting others because your issues become obsessively necessary to explore and talk about all the time. So you're enmeshed in what's going on inside yourself, and you're bringing that out into the world in a way that is very difficult for other people to deal with. in your relationships. And this applies in business as well, whether it's your team, whether it's customers, whether it's partners. The kinds of people who feel heaviness around the unwinding issue pattern are winding up all kinds of problems all of the time. And through that inner state of heaviness and unhappiness, creating inside themselves a perpetuating cause and effect cycle of suffering that they are communicating to everybody else. Now let's get into sound decisions. This has to do with surrender and detachment. We have free will. We decide what kind of reality we want to create. Sound decisions means that we're creating a reality that is elevating and uplifting in relation to these patterns, and that lines up with the energy imprint and makeup inside of ourselves. It's really that simple. And we are in thought, action, and impact in relation to that in a positive way. When we're not, what we're doing is we're forcing decisions to get what we want, what we think we want, which is motivated by something that is more of a craving than a real want. So we're looking for money, satisfaction, not satisfaction, but money, recognition, social media performance metrics, subscribing our program, whatever the thing is, making our entrepreneurial venture more successful. When we're forcing those things, this is the just do it mentality, we're creating a heaviness inside ourselves because we're not allowing the natural order of things to function. What happens when you know your patterns? When I understood vision alignment was my major issue, unconditional relationships as well, and accepting support are the other two issues. But vision alignment's the number one pattern problem that I've got. When I was able to look inside myself at all 8 of these patterns and see the beginning of them in the full cause and effect relationship of how I created these patterns, I was able to evaporate them inside my body. That created in freedom beyond anything I could have ever imagined. And the way you do that is simple. You know your truth. You're honest with yourself about how you're doing this. And you track things back. You see the pattern and it evaporates. And you help other people do the same. And that not only elevates them, but it helps you evaporate your own patterns. You make a decision for your business, like I did with Red Pill Pathway, based on your patterns. Vision alignment is my problem because I was focused on what do I want? What makes me feel secure? What makes me feel that I've accomplished something? What makes me feel like I'm successful? And what will make me the most money? That built a negative thought pattern where I was out of vision alignment with what I'm really supposed to be doing here. When I figured that out and built Red Pill Pathway to help other entrepreneurs with their vision alignment issues, so their visions are loftier, they're bigger, they're more impactful, and they're not self-absorbed and self-centered, everything changed for me. And you can do the same.